Dane, how we doing today, bud?
Hey, Sean, great. I'll have the usual.
You got it.
All right.
Hey, Dane.
Hey, Ed. Hey, Dane. Todd, what are you guys doing here? I thought you'd be out shooting a story.
Well, we're doing some research. What you got there?
This is what they call the Chicago Handshake, a beer and a shot of Malört.
You know, Malört has quite the history here in Chicago.
I've always wondered, how do they make this stuff anyway?
It's funny you should ask.
Some people have called it grapefruit. I call it liquid cardboard.
People love the sort of bodily function analogies and this kind of stuff. To me, it just tastes sort of herby and bitter, maybe slightly floral, slightly citrusy.
Malört has been in this city for close to 100 years. It's sort of gone from the unknown underdog to now it's a Chicago flagship.
This facility was built as new construction. At the time, we were hoping to be a sort of nationwide grain-to-glass vodka brand. Over here on the left, you can see sort of all of the distillation equipment. These would be the hot mash tanks. We have the large fermentation tanks that lead down into our column still and our pot still, which would be used in the production of making clear spirits. We have the plant material, right? The next part we would do is we would soak that plant material in alcohol. Alcohol is a very good extractor of flavor. It gets used in making vanilla extract. Making any sort of flavor extract is usually alcohol-based because the alcohol does a really good job of bringing out the flavor of whatever is in there. What we essentially do is pack them full of sticks, and then we put alcohol on the top. And then we circulate that alcohol for an amount of time until the sticks become fully saturated. And then we will let the sticks soak in the alcohol until the desired flavor profile is reached, at which point we would filter out the sticks and we would have our wormwood extract that we would use in the making of Malört. The product will come out of the tank, run through these plates. The plates will trap all of the very fine sand-like particulate, and then it will run back in, and that's how you filter something using a plate and frame filter.
It's to play a prank, joke on somebody, for somebody that loses has to do it.
People still love it in Chicago. People know of it as something that's uniquely Chicago, even though it's now sold in more than 30 states.
Malört is a lot more like the devil you know, right? It's your friend that's always there. You know that they're a little rowdy, but you like hanging out with them.
A lot of people do like it. There is a niche crowd that loves this stuff because Chicago is such a unique melting pot of people opposed to other states around the Midwest or outside of that. It just helps bring people together. The reason why it's so legendary, I guess, would be because there's so many reasons why people do it.
If you listed the most iconic things in Chicago, of course you'd have the Cubs and the Bears and Wrigley Field and architecture and pizza and Italian beef, all that, the hot dog. But if you don't have to go too far down the list to find Malört on that list too. It has become an iconic piece of Chicago.
Bottoms up. Here's to friendships, relationships, and memories forever. Oh, tastes like
Oh yeah, good batch for sure. Quite bitter, slightly herby, a little bit of citrus. We love it.
Most Chicago cemeteries have hundreds, even thousands of graves. But we discovered one cemetery that has only a single occupant, and it's located in a junkyard. In the middle of an industrial scrapyard on the banks of the Calumet River on Chicago's far southeast side sits a very tiny cemetery. So tiny, in fact, it has just one occupant, Andreas von Zergebel, a one-armed veteran of the Battle of Waterloo. Von Zergebel was born in Bavaria in 1797 and at the age of 18 fought with Prussian forces in the famous Battle of Waterloo. He lost his arm while helping defeat Napoleon's army. In 1854, von Zerngabel moved his large family to Chicago and, according to his descendants, purchased 44 acres of land near the mouth of the Calumet River for $160 in gold. He built a small shack on the property and began working as a fisherman, but died only a year after his arrival. Following his wishes, von Zerngabel was buried on his property, but the actual ownership of that land became the subject of a long legal battle in the late 1800s, the Illinois Supreme Court eventually ruling that the settler was in fact a squatter, but also ruling his remains could not be moved. Over the last 2 centuries, the marshy area filled in with industry, his grave passing from company to company, surrounded by growing smokestacks and power lines. An old wooden cross marking his resting place was replaced with a stone marker that was damaged in an industrial accident. In 1987, the Eastside Historical Society paid for a new marble gravestone surrounded by concrete blocks to protect it from industrial machinery. Today, in the 9300 block of South Ewing, employees of the scrapyard pull weeds and watch after the one-man cemetery, honoring the memory of a battle-scarred vet whose family battled to keep him here, on the land they insist was his. Chicago's many cemeteries are sacred places that have been protected for generations. But we found one cemetery in downstate Illinois that had been long forgotten until it was literally dug out of the prairie.
You're looking at a cemetery that was completely forgotten and destroyed.
On an appropriately dark and cloudy day, we took a walk with John Kettman. Show me some of your favorite sites at Naramor.
Okay.
To visit the tiny pioneer cemetery that has been his life's work for the past 15 years.
It dates back to 1834, but I believe it goes back further.
So the people buried here are some of the first non-Native American people to live in this area.
Yes. Some of my family are here, and that's what kind of caught my eye.
Back in 2011, Kettman was researching his family's history when he learned that a distant relative had been buried in this long-forgotten cemetery in the tiny town of Kangley, surrounded on all 4 sides by farm fields with no public access.
I walked the perimeter of the cornfield because there was no access to anything. It was like a jungle, completely overgrown. Trees, poison ivy, snakes, you name it, it was in here.
It didn't look like this.
No, absolutely not.
But Kettman was able to see a couple grave markers jutting out of the ground, others scattered in pieces.
I can't believe what I'm seeing here. There's a bunch of people buried here, and it's just like totally destroyed. Somebody's got to do something.
Since then, Kettman and a group of volunteers have slowly cleared the cemetery of the overgrowth, erected a new entrance.
The gate is it's a day bed.
Really?
It's a day bed.
And named it Naramor, after an early property owner whose family is buried here. Most of the graves are from the mid-1800s, some of its underground residents born in the 1700s. The earliest markers, simply stones dragged up from the nearby Vermilion River.
This is a very early one, shaped like a heart. The guy went down, or the family went down the river, and they got a rock and chipped it.
And that's a grave.
That's a grave
stone
marker.
Right there.
Yes. The indentions that are in the ground are decomposed bodies and caskets that have collapsed over years. So each one of these pits are actual burials.
Indeed, most of the headstones you see today were buried underground, victims of time and farm tractors. Kettman plunges a metal rod into the soil to find the stones.
I call this like a random poke, when you're just walking and poking.
And over the years, he has found and dug up dozens of headstones, many of them just fragments.
There's something right there.
Yep.
Not enough to be able to tell who it was.
Yeah, and it drives you crazy because you want to know who it is.
With a permit from the state, Kettman takes those fragments home and reassembles them like a jigsaw puzzle, revealing names and stories.
Here, they would carve into the stone little poems, epitaphs, about the person, about their life, And it would kind of, and then the symbolism that goes on the stones would kind of like, it tells a story of each one of these people.
After recovering a buried stone, Kettman conducts hours of research, digging through historical land records, censuses, and death notices, often finding pictures of those buried here that he places next to the graves.
Well, this is my great-great-great-grandfather.
Stan Siza of Joliet was stunned when he got a call from Kettman saying he'd found the grave of James McCready, a family member who served in the Civil War.
I think it's very important. You know, it teaches younger people that, you know, this is something you should preserve and something that makes you remember and learn from the past.
There could be scores, even hundreds of these stones still underground, which is why they've now established a nonprofit so that they can keep discovering here and keep the cemetery alive.
I hope it doesn't go back to where it was. I hope that now with it having a name and people knowing about it a little more around here, that it's taken care of, whether it's me, John, whoever.
A one secret cemetery hidden no more.
You must feel a little bit at home here, huh?
I do. I do. It's very peaceful out here. It has its own way of, how do you say it, sucking you in.
In Kangley, Illinois, Dane Placco, Fox 32 Chicago. You won't find any palm trees, but this leafy street in Chicago's Uptown neighborhood is the birthplace of Hollywood. This large red brick building was once home to Essanay Studios, one of the first film production companies in the country. Essanay was named after the initials of its founders, George Kirk Spoor and Gilbert M. Anderson, better known as Bronco Billy Anderson, the first star of the Western film genre. In 1907, they opened a studio in Old Town, and the following year built a much larger studio in the 1300 block of West Argyle, which still bears the name of the company. Essanay may have been founded by a Western actor, but it was comedy that put it on the movie map. Its first star, the cross-eyed comic Ben Turpin, who found fame while working as a janitor at the studio. Turpin was known for extremely physical comedy, and in a 1909 film called Mr. Flip, got the first pie in the face in movie history. Many Essanay films were shot outdoors in a lot next to the building or using the Chicago neighborhoods around the studio. In 1914, Essanay signed its biggest star, Charlie Chaplin, who made 14 short comedies for the studio, but only one at its Chicago location. His new job was written and directed by Chaplin and shot in Chicago in January of 1915. Chaplin only lived in Chicago for a few weeks, and so hated the cold weather, he moved to California to make the rest of his movies. After Chaplin left Essanay, the studio foundered, closing in 1918 after producing more than 1,400 movies. Today, the building is part of St. Augustine College, which has worked to preserve its place in motion picture history. The old stage area is now used as an auditorium and conference room, a painting of Chaplin overlooking the room. Look up and you can see the ceiling scaffolding for movie lights still in place. And in the basement, a tour guide showed us the original film vaults are still here. A heavy steel door marked "Store Safety Film Only" leads to the room that once preserved and protected the extremely flammable nitrate film stock. Outside, there's another painting of Chaplin on a wall and a plaque designating the building as a Chicago landmark. A reminder that nearly 120 years ago, Chicago was instrumental in introducing a new art form to the world, the magic of the silver screen.
Winters are special here in Chicago, but if you're craving some of that summer feeling, well, here's a story we did about one of Chicago's great contributions to summer fun, the Weber Grill.
Hi, my name is Jason Crisp, and I'm the Director of Operations here at Weber. We are in Huntley, Illinois, where our main manufacturing plant resides. The facility is about 644,000 square feet of manufacturing space. Today we're going to take a look at our 22-inch original kettle and basically how it's made, from the point that it comes in as a flat blank all the way through the packaging process and out the door. So the first step here is the draw, where the blanks are robotically fed into the stamping press, where the first operation actually forms the bowl into the desired shape. The next step of the operation is called the beading process, where we take the excess material left over from the trim and roll the edge over into a nice bead. From there we will go into the pierce operation, where the damper holes are pierced into the bottom of the bowl. The final operation is our welding operation, where the bowls are placed into the welding fixtures, where we place the handles, the leg couplings, and the grill straps in, all to be welded to the bowl. The main kettle we run in bowl and lid sets because that's how we pack them. So you will see on the line there is a lid and then a bowl throughout the process. Right now we are in the enamel powder room, where the parts are entering the powder booth. The parts will actually coming out looking like they are gray, and as they go through the furnace at 1530 degrees, they will actually end up as a black unit. So we are now in our enamel wet spray color area, where we turn all of our normal black kettles into color kettles. Let's take a look at how that's done. The product is placed on a spindle, which will then rotate as the sprayer applies a nice even coat of color enamel. It actually goes on in a wet form and then will instantly dry, and then it is hung onto the furnace conveyor to go through the curing process one more time. The parts now are headed back off through the furnace. They will have to be sent back to be refired, as we have just put a second layer of porcelain enamel on them. So Weber was founded in 1952 by George Stephen. The story goes he was doing a bit of entertaining at his place over a brick oven, and the food didn't come out quite the way everybody wished it would have. So he thought to himself, there's got to be a better way to do this, and then hence the Weber Stephen had started. George Stephen was working at a company called Weber Metal Works, where they manufactured metal buoys. So George tried to figure out a way how to make a really good charcoal kettle out of it. So he started tinkering with it, and that's kind of how the original kettle was born, out of a metal buoy. We are Chicago-based. We also have a plant in Zabrze, Poland, and with some affiliates also over in Asia as well. So now that the parts have come out of the oven, it's time for us to take a final inspection look at them and get the parts ready for the packaging team to go ahead and put them in cartons. Today we're packaging the 22-inch original kettle. That's what's currently flowing down our line right now. As the cartons travel down the line, components are strategically placed inside of the carton. Right now, our team is assembling and installing the bowl damper blade to the bowl. Several of our folks here have a lot of long-term work history here, and a lot of these folks have worked at multiple locations throughout the Weber business. Several generations in some cases. We have folks here that have upward of 45 to 50 years of seniority with the company. All throughout the process, we have different vision systems and scales to help validate and verify that we have placed every component inside of each carton. We are a seasonal business, but we'll average between 6,000 and 9,000 kettles manufactured per day, or between 1 and 1.5 million kettles annually. As the finished boxes come down the assembly line here, they will travel over to our stacking machines, which we will stack them up, stretch wrap them, and load them in a truck and send them on their way. This is where everything wraps up. Again, what we saw earlier is a flat blank of steel to a finished product. Typically, we're working 4 to 6 months out again, so we can go ahead and manufacture them and get them into warehouses ready for the spring and summer sales. Over the years, not a whole lot has changed with our original kettle as it originated in 1952. There's been some upgrades and some modifications to it, but the ease and simplicity of operation and just the pure enjoyment you get out of it with family and friends, and what a great meal you get to share with everybody. We've been making these since 1952. They have withstood the test of time. Weber is a legendary product. You know, anywhere you go, anybody that you talk to either has one or their family members have one. Certainly is an iconic brand, been around for a really, really long time, and people really, really enjoy cooking and enjoying other company with our products.
This is our actual 20th anniversary. We've been here since 2005. What makes this track special, honestly, is the people. It feels very homey. This is one of the longest tracks in Illinois. We're the closest to the lake, closest to Wisconsin, and just honestly, just overall really great family feeling here at Buckingham BMX.
My name's Tyler Kroll. I'm the track operator here. Last year I was just a volunteer. This is my first year as a full-on track operator.
No pedal!
We're part of USA BMX, which is a national organization. The Olympics brought BMX back in 2006. Since then, it has been the fastest growing sport in the US.
On your mark, get set, go!
USA BMX has over 40,000 registered members across the nation, over 300 tracks in all the different states. We've been making a push here, one, to try and grow it locally, but two, to try and reach further out into the country. So you have people coming in from different states and really trying to grow it that way too.
Wesley? Okay, we're waiting on Wesley.
So my name's Matt. I've been racing since about 2017. I've been at this track. This is my first track I ever started to race at. And I've been volunteering here pretty much ever since.
Yeah, keep eyes on it.
To me, it's a community. I really enjoy like the community spirit we get here. Good combination of like the young kids, you know, all the way from 3 up to 73. So wide range of ages. It's appealing sport, but really good community vibe here.
This day and age, it's hard to pull a kid away from the tablet. So honestly here, not only are they learning BMX skills, they're learning life skills.
Being able to watch kids grow, especially through like our beginners leagues where they come out and they're timid a little bit and they find some friends here and they start pushing and they go from sitting on their bike and rolling down the hill to like really trying to get it every race. It's amazing how fast it can happen, and that is what makes all of it worth it in the long run.
Just pedal. All right. All the way.
I have like cleared open, nobody was next to me, so I just shot it. It's tiring.
It's fun, you get the exercise in, you're able to do something, it's really fun.
I love it. It keeps me young.
The faces, you know, on these kids when they come enjoy it and they're like, I can do it. Something they're jumping off 5 feet off the ground and others they're only getting 2 inches, but at the end of the day they're just super excited to be out here.
Standing tall above the intersection of Ida B. Wells and Michigan Avenue and guarding an entrance to Grant Park since 1928 are 2 bronze sculptures of Native American warriors on horseback named the Bowman and the Spearman. Each statue stands 17 feet tall and rests on top of an 18-foot granite pedestal. Originally suggested by Daniel Burnham in his 1909 plan of Chicago, the statues are meant to symbolize both America's Indian heritage and the country's struggle for expansion. The sculptures were crafted in Croatia by sculptor Ivan Mestrovic and funded by a philanthropist who made millions in the lumber industry. The sculptor intentionally chose to not include each of the warriors' weapons. The spearman has no spear, and the bowman has no bow and arrow. The artist said he preferred they be left to the imagination, allowing the viewer to focus instead on their bodies, the angles, and the headdresses. In 2021, the George Floyd protests prompted a review of Chicago's controversial public monuments. In its final report, the Chicago Monuments Project noted criticism of the statues for their romanticized and reductive images of American Indians, but recommended keeping the bowman and the spearman at the entrance to Grant Park, citing their artistic and historic importance.
Yeah, those were really some fun stories in 2025.
It was a lot of fun to do the research on them.
And we had a great time shooting them too.
Hope you enjoyed it. Cheers, and thanks for watching.